Mr. John Riggio joining us here again, our architect and CEO of John Riggio. And by the way, he's not just an architect who's an amazing man, also amazing tennis player. And looking forward to hearing more of his stories about, his life, his travels this summer, and some good news for you. How are you?
Great. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing well. Pleasure to have you back. It's been a few months of a hiatus, but you're always one of my favorite people to work with. I mean that because you're just so outgoing, so kind, so energetic, so knowledgeable, so multifaceted. Tell us a little bit about yourself for new timers, and then we'll get into today's topic.
Yes, I think since the beginning with the podcast business network and really talking about my old tennis career
Yeah.
and all those things is really making my memory go through all the different things. And, and I think since the last time we had talked, I really started working on getting into uh, meeting the sponsors in Japan, doing some more things with them.
Yeah.
And so my contract in tennis is officially going to stay open. They kept it open from years ago. And I was able to visit South Korea and Japan as just like a regular vacation.
Yeah.
And when I get over to Japan, I was able to finally meet with the Japan sponsors because I was in Japan last year. And this year I was finally able to fix my telephone communication problems. I was able to call over there. I had talked to him a couple times.
Yeah.
And this time I finally ended up in there in Tokyo. And my sponsor, he came over and we talked about some things, have some good plans ahead. And so they're really happy about it. And so it was good. I have some photographs. I think right now I could share some photographs with you just so I can show you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get some pictures.
Yay.
Okay, good. So this here is some pictures, and let me just see if I can open this picture, if you can see it
Sure.
open on the screen. Okay, can you see that open on the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So I
Lots of
think
pictures.
you're able to see the full picture
I
here.
see a whole, well, now I see a whole bunch of pictures and videos.
Oh, okay. So then let me just
I don't
close.
see the specific. Yeah, hold on.
Let me just unshare this for a second.
Sure.
Okay, and let me just go to this one instead. And let me share this. Okay, there it goes.
There you go. Ah,
Okay. So then this is more clarity. So this is my sponsor in Japan. That's Shiji Nishio, and he's really a famous player in Japan, and he's also tennis administrator for many years. He's, we're both a little older now, and so I met with him here. Very nice hotel in Tokyo, and so this is my picture here. I have my ATP cap on, and this here's just like it's a live picture there. Some more pictures, and so this is really from heading over there, and we just went there just to really go real quick.
sure.
Okay, and this is some of our pictures here. This is a live photo. Okay, and this is some still photos. I think it was on the web.
Aw.
So this is us here in Tokyo. So everything worked out really good. And see if I have any more
And
pictures.
what's his name? What are their names?
Oh yes, well then my daughter's on the left side,
Yeah.
Nancy. And on the right side is Shichiyuki Nushio. And
Wow.
he is pretty famous player. You can find him right on the internet here, and he also was a tennis administrator the whole time. So that's really he was working for the Mitsubishi for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's really one of my sponsors there. So this is used to talk to him for many years too. He used to
Wow.
call years ago, and I used to just pick up the phone, and they were all the way there in Japan, and they you talked to me for a number of years. And I think I had described my contract with Mitsubishi Japan was expanded. It went with the owner of Adidas, and then it expanded to the owner of Reebok, and Reebok was assigned the lead to my contract to have them continue my playing back there, like in
Mm-hmm.
1998, and not, yes, around around 1998, around there. This is getting way later, and so that's how my contract is. But they had a contract where they invested into the contract, so that's why that contract ended up as $120 million, which was still the largest at the time. And
Wow.
let me shop the stuff this year on this. Okay, so that worked very good. And then I have let's see, so from there, those worked very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's some plans ahead to do things with uh, the sponsors in Japan. And I think since I knew them for so many years, it's pretty good to go and meet them there. I think I'm probably going to try to see if I can learn to speak a few words in Japanese, things like that. I think on this trip, I got around to some different cities this time.
Wow.
Took a nice train ride there. So things are pretty good. I also include South Korea because South Korea was one of the teams that played.
Yeah.
Japan was really the center of the teams.
Mm-hmm.
Their organization of tennis pros were really able to put together all those other teams: South Korea, Indonesia, Philippines, Guam, Taiwan. Some of all those teams, they were able to all get on the airplanes, fly over here. They bust them over to my tennis location that they set up there in SUNY or Westbury, New York. And so since I had already met them, I was interested to get over there.
Mm-hmm.
I went over to the South Korea and just on the basic vacation, just looked around. It was good to meet them. Now they used to tell me about where they used to play and stuff,
Wow.
things like that. The South
Yeah.
Korean team was pretty friendly with me, so it was pretty good to stop over there too.
Amazing.
I have to see if I can stop into some of those other areas and the other countries, locations that came to visit me. So that was pretty good. And so with that, let's see if I can also let's see, I have his pictures and some other things with Japan. Let's see if I have anything else.
Sure.
See what I have here. Okay, yeah, I have
Oops, drop my water. Hold on. Just a
okay,
little spill.
so I think this is my Facebook page. I think, can
Oh,
you see the Facebook page clearly?
hold on one sec. I had a water spill, so before it damages the floor, I'm just getting that. So I apologize. I am off camera. But you know what? It happens, right? Okay, so right now all I see is your Microsoft Word screen.
Yes. So I think, all right. Oh, you only see the word screen? Okay. So let's see if I could share this. Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, let's go back on the share screen. Let's head over to the this here. Okay, good. Okay, good. So let me just get the share on this.
No problem. But let's also remind people how to
Wait,
contact
wait a
you.
minute. Okay, I think
John
it's
Riggio. Up.
yes, I think
John
that
Riggio, pro tennis player there on Facebook
so this is my new picture here. And
with your sponsor. Awesome.
yes. So I think the Japan sponsor was really after 1987. It was after Sutton East, after
Mm-hmm.
Pond. They met me when things were changed over to Ross Perot and
Oh,
his group of
wow.
investors, and that was at the SUNY Westbury
Yep.
campus. So that's where they came in. and were able to meet me, play me, and things like that. And I think this time of year, since we had the U.S. Open recently, I was just thinking about memories of the U.S. Open.
Ah,
I think on my Facebook page, you see there's a small picture, this
yeah.
round, and this round picture that is from the 1987 U.S. Open.
Wow.
So what was happening with the U.S. Open is very interesting. Is the U.S. Open this is a little bit exclusive, and my history with playing it with the U.S. Open goes back even previous when I was like 16 years old. So my coach at the time, who was running all those matches, the administrative work in my contract, was uh, Anthony Cambria, and he was telling me that I made the finals for the U.S. Open, and I was really number one player. Um, so, but unfortunately, he had said back then that they didn't want me to play the U.S. Open. So I said, okay, they don't want me to play. It's no big deal. There's plenty of tournaments to play. Then I was also told that at that time that that was really their first warning, and I had no idea what they talked about as their first warning. First, we could play anywhere else, and then the next time it's my first warning. So what happens is, comes years later, 1987 in the summer. I'm playing everywhere there at the tennis court. All the players from around the world are coming. I think if you ever see the list of all the players playing at the U.S. Open, they show a list of all the players' names and things like that. So at that time, I knew all of them. I played with all of them. Played maybe two or more matches against each one of the players there. They're all good people, good, honest players. I think only some players got into things with having illegal rackets and cheating and things like that, and the sponsors were corrupt. But otherwise, everything was very good. So when I was playing the start of the U.S. Open, I was undefeated in my group. Some of the other players, they were highly ranked players. So that really put me to more or less give me a chance to potentially even win the whole thing. But what happened was the setup to the 87 US Open, my sponsors and coaches, I think they had their hopes up about playing in the US Open this time. I think if they were very exclusive and said that they don't want me to play from the beginning, I wouldn't show up at all. I wouldn't care. I would just play other tournaments. It didn't make a difference. But since they got everyone's hope up and I was playing in the US Open that year and I didn't lose any matches, they put the stop in for me to go any further in the tournament. And that was really their second and last warning because I don't know if whoever put the stops in had an idea of what had already happened in the past, but what happened was they had a big lawsuit over it. And I think whoever was doing the things with the US Open, stopping me from playing or even just allowing me to play from the start, turned out to have been a big mistake. I think it was a big mistake on their part, and they didn't do very smart. Whatever, if they wanted me to play another tournament and said that they didn't want to play there, they could have told me and my sponsors from the very beginning. But it led to a very serious lawsuit because they had already did this when I was a junior, and it ended up them having to pay. I don't remember the exact number, but it was possibly between 275 million to 400 million dollars, including building three tennis stadiums. And I think with the deal, I was supposed to have use of one of the stadiums. So Court 33 was supposed to change where I would access into one of the stadiums, depending on what I'm told by my sponsors and coaches. And I would use one of the stadiums. Now, I think those stadiums are fully constructed. They've been there for a long time. They built them very fast. And but from there, I left and I had my Adipan tennis bubble and center, which has grown into the largest tennis bubble in the whole US. And then, of course, went over to Manhattan to East 59th Street at at Sutton East, so I played a lot of uh, tournaments, was able to win many, many tournaments there. And that really helped out the continuing playing my career and everything like that. So that was very good. But the whole thing with them really like bundling that whole thing with the 87 US Open with me and my sponsors was really a big mess. It cost them an awful lot of problems and was really very strange. I think and not only did they cause problems for me with that whole thing, but they really were causing problems for my sponsors, my coaches. They were like leading everyone on to that I was going to go there. And I don't know why they had that problem, but it was a big problem. And I think in previous discussions, I said on the podcast that they were fixing up the whole place, but I didn't really say very clearly that the whole fix-up job they did there was based on a big lawsuit that resulted in a very big sport penalty. I think that is very interesting because I think there was another event that happened with the uh, team with Japan, but this one had happened a number of years earlier, and it was turned out to be a very large sport penalty on the whoever was organizing that whole thing with the U.S. Open. So that is what had happened. So this is I didn't really just say it very clearly in the past. I usually just said they were just fixing things up, but it really was a result of them making big mistakes. And then since I had already given me one warning when I was a junior, they gave me their warning went to them, but they weren't allowed to just have me get ready to play the U.S. Open and stop the whole thing all of a sudden. There was whatever happened was really more serious than maybe what they thought or what was happening, and then it resulted in them building all those stadiums. The original fix-up that they were doing wasn't going to build any stadiums or anything, and that's really how that happened. And then I think the idea of the Court 33 going away was because Court 33 was going to go away in their redesign, but the idea was for me to use one of the stadiums instead. So that's how that happened. I think some people at the time they were sort of saying the idea that when they redesigned this whole stadium and the whole layout of that tennis center, they weren't really thinking about how people were playing like across from the other courts. Like they used to like to keep people separated. They had some people waiting in the parking lot, some people in the green building. I was over there on my set of courts. They had another bubble next to me that was another group of people. So I think whoever redesigned it, they redesigned it thinking I could just walk into the tennis center, go to my stadium, and play there as if everyone's just walking around, to their different tennis courts. But it really wasn't really working like that. I think I had described some story where one of the tennis bubbles was relocated on the courts, but they had no door entering into it from outside. So it was had to get picked up and moved out and moved all the way over to Manhattan. So that's really what had happened there. So I think that was a very interesting story of people not really getting along perfectly. They needed separate entrances. They're playing on different courts, things like that. So that was a very interesting story that had happened. And yeah, so all those fix-ups with the stadiums, they really were based off of a lawsuit. It wasn't just that they wanted to improve things all of a sudden. So that's really what had happened. And I remember talking to some of the other pro players, and they know that same story. They were told what was happening, and yeah, the whole thing with the that whole renovation of the stadium at that time is really what happened. I think the configuration of the National Tennis Center is about the same as it is when they started after the summer of '87. They started that whole construction project. It's about the same. I noticed they had made some other improvements. When I was older, I stopped there. I was playing some doubles, just for fun, and I played in their doubles leagues over there. And nothing has really changed since there. It's all about the same. So I think that was one big change that happened, and was really based off of a lawsuit. So that is really the story of what had happened. And I think this year I have those pictures from the
You're gonna
from.
show them?
Let me see if I have this. Let's see if I have this.
You're
Oh,
so good.
so
So
I
they're
think
on your Facebook page or?
let me just put in the albums. I think what I did on this Facebook page is I arranged all the pictures by year.
Okay.
So I just showed some things. I even played some tennis in China with the in-laws. She was an excellent number one player in her province. And then this here, I have some old pictures of the old polo grounds. And then I think as far as the U.S. Open piece,
Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo.
see what is this? Should be right here. Okay, here it is. Okay, so then here I just showed a few clips of where I was already in the US Open. Let me see if any of these movies. Oh yeah. So I think in this picture, I'm pictured in the video here. And this is like what I was talking about with people, they don't really walk across the tennis center there. Even if you're a pro player,
Yeah.
you're not going to all the different bubbles. They have sectioned off. And so in this video, I'm right here the whole time, right there. Let's see. Yeah, there I am, right there.
Hey.
That's me right there.
Oh,
Okay, so
cool.
I can't pause this for some reason. Yeah, there I
Oh, look
am.
at you. That's your profile picture, right? That is that?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
there.
So cool.
The tennis cover, it was really given to me from Beyond Board. Gave that to me, and that's why it looks like that. And I have my racket in there. And I just have all new sweatpants and everything for the occasion. So
Okay.
that's pretty good. And I think this one also show. Oops, excuse me. Okay, and my picture is right there again, right here to the right. And I have my
I
here,
see. Look at you.
and that's really where it is there. Okay, so then let's stop the share on this. Okay, so yeah, so anyone could go to the Facebook page. They could take a look at me, John Riggio.
Beautiful. We
Where
will.
you see
Thank you. And
all
how can
the
we
different
contact you?
things. Yes, you can go to my Facebook page is the best way to do it, and just send me a message.
Perfect.
I
All
have the
right.
message open, and so that was really good. I think the thing with the U.S. Open '87, what it did is the thing with using one of the tennis stadiums for myself started to resurface again when I was really at Sun East, and my sponsor was Gloria Vanderbilt, and they really wanted to
Mm-hmm.
expand my playing with like stadiums and things like that. And then Courtney Pulitzer, who was on the other side in the public courts, so she was the my female, like the counterpart in there, because we have one, so we have one male, one female, because the females they play separately from the males most of the time in pro tennis. And so what happened is there is I think so. I told them the story about the one of the stadiums, but they still was not accessible to them. And then instead of that, we got into the idea of building that grandstand. And
Mm-hmm.
this was their idea was to put big a grandstand. And I think they built the grandstand and then they
Aw.
what I thought about the tennis bubble and the grandstand. I thought
Yep.
to improve it, I gave them an idea. I gave them an idea was to take one side of the bubble and have it where it can open to like a plexiglass wall. And then behind the plexiglass wall, you would have the grandstand, maybe one grandstand, add to them, and then when the match is over, everything's over, they can close the window down again, and then you're back in your private bubble. I mean, that was
That's so
an
cool.
idea I had.
I apologize, John. We're out of time. I'm sorry. I know.
Okay, so that was one of my ideas I had, but I think from there, since the city said they're not allowed to have that grandstand, they sold it,
Oh my
ended
gosh.
up in Times Square, and then they went for that building the new stadium in the Polo Grounds is where they really started to do that, and that was an idea that they were trying to put. So that is one thing. I think, unfortunately, one thing I think the thing with the stadiums was a little bit like a peer pressure situation. Most people say tennis, it isn't a stadium sport. You play outdoors with some bleachers, that's it. You have the television cameras there. But I think the stadiums were starting to get to everyone. They're peer pressuring everyone. And so that's what was happening with the stadiums.
Gosh, well, thank you so much, John Riggio. Sorry, we have to go. Go to the Facebook page, or of course, go to the website. Just Google John Riggio. You'll find out more about him. And I want to hear more about this next time and your thoughts on the U.S. Open. All right, gotta run. Bye bye.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.